Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's stream, live at 5 on a Tuesday. Now, we've been doing this little study, and we're at the stage where we're beginning to want to complicate things out a little bit. We have some very simplistic shapes, as you can see here. This is just bright yellow, and there's some dark areas. What we want to do now is to begin to put in, for want of a better word, detail. As you know, I don't like the word detail because where do you stop putting detail in? Do you go down to the pixel? I rather look at it as complicating these simple shapes because I feel more in control of how much you want to complicate it by. Whereas if it's detail, doesn't seem to be a stop button. You can carry on going. One hair brushes are used, etc., etc. We don't want that. We want it, ideally speaking, to look and feel like a painting. But a painting, it's like you've got a camera and you've got an out of focus image. You want to sharpen that image up a bit. So that's what we want to be doing. And let's make a start and see how it goes. I'm going to be mainly focusing on this part of the image. I think to do it all in 1 hour is going to be rushing it. So I'm going to show you how we do it here. And then maybe we'll do this side. Maybe that's enough. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So on the palette, we've got tube colors. We have Venetian turpentine, which is important on a forest. Now, if I was doing a portrait of a young person, I wouldn't be using Venetian turpentine because Venetian turps kind of makes it sticky, makes the paint sticky. And the last thing you want on a portrait is to drag the paint over it. It needs to flow. So you wouldn't use Venetian turps on a portrait. You would, however, use the Venetian turps on a seascape if it was a coarse or a rough sea, but not a sky. It's too smooth. Maybe you could use a little bit on maybe some clouds that you want to complicate, but this is really personal choice. My advice is get some. The best Venetian turpentine that I've used straight, literally out of a bottle, is probably Royal Talens. But Wallace and Seymour do an extremely concentrated one, which you really then need to add to maybe a little bit of solvent to it or a little bit of oil to it to make it a medium to work with. But whatever it is, just get some Venetian turps, and I think you'll find for a forest scene or something certainly like this, it's really useful, and you'll see why as we work with it. And we've got some pre-mixed colours. So these are a bit scabby colours, but we're okay. We can, at best, we can mix up some more, go live, as I say. Let's put that down. I'm going to mainly be using small brushes today, so because we are complicating the big shapes up into smaller ones. Now, as you can see, if I put these over the tile, you can see these are the brushes we're using. This is a dagger from Rosemary & Co. And these are number 2 flats. Long flats, or chisel brushes as they're sometimes called, from again Rosemary & Co. These are number 2s. I think just there's a number 0, I think. Yes. And we've also got a rigger. Brain stopped then for a minute. We've got a rigger. Now, this obviously is just a touch here and there with some sparkle. Don't start painting with a rigger. You'll need to, probably wake yourself up after a few hours. It's there if we need. So right now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, these 2 little brushes here, these number 2s. I would probably have liked a 3rd, but we'll see how we go with this. So looking at it, just here, if you can see just beside me, just there, is my tablet. And I've got the photograph on here, and the painting obviously is there. It's in easy eye shot, so I can see what it is and where I'm going and what I need to do. I'm going to start with some darks. Now this, I think, is an extremely dark green, so I'm just going to add a bit more green to it. This is not as dark green. Again, a little bit of Venetian terps. Now this is really important. Don't do, as I've said on numerous occasions before, the watercolor trick, which is the kind of, they get the brush in here and they wiggle, wiggle, wiggle in it. Oopsie, I've just wiggled into it with my brush. Don't do that. It's not a good idea, because whatever paint or pigment you've got on the brush will then actually go into your, whatever medium you're using. And we don't want that to happen. So let's not do that. Let's put that in the bin. So wipe the end of the brush off. So we've got a bit of Venetian turpentine on here, Venetian solvent, Venetian turpentine on here. And I think actually the mix on this is probably something like about 80% Venetian turpentine, 20% solvent. Venetian turpentine, believe it or not, even though it's terps, is a little oily, because it's not just, it's tree sap. Think of it as this way, it's tree sap. And therefore that's what makes it sticky. So let's put some of these darks in. Now I want to put these in, and I don't want to block in as such. I want to be quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Complicated. So I want to complicate this out. This is quite dark. So I don't want to go too black, but I don't want to go too light either. See, I'm going to put some paint on and see where we go with it. And I'm going to be reasonably careful and cautious here, because we're at the stage now, exciting moment, where yes, your viewer, the person looking at the painting that's finished, will see these brush marks. Everything we've done up till now, the viewer isn't going to see any brush marks. And that's really, I think, quite important, because it means if you make an error, a mistake, well, no big deal. Make an error or a mistake now, and yes, that will be seen. So let's be a little bit tuned in. I can feel the pressure now. Ooh, they're going to see what we're doing, but it's okay, because again, it's oils, and oils are quite obedient. They kind of do as you tell them to do. They don't do something unexpected normally. And of course you drop something on the painting, in which case, that's going to be a different story. So I'm putting something in here, just tickling away round. Now, this is some kind of fern bush, I think. Tree, could be. Not too sure what it is. It's probably a fern tree or some description. No worries. Let's wiggle that in. And although I'm at an angle to the painting, because if I wasn't, then you wouldn't see the painting because I've got a camera behind me. No big problem. I can stretch across. Just takes a little bit longer sometimes to adjust your eyes so you know where you're looking. Can you see how that is already beginning to develop up? It's gone darker. That's what we want. Bit of dark here and there. Now, the Venetian terps will go sticky quite swiftly. You'd be surprised. We're looking at maybe, I don't know, maybe sort of 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It depends, on how much paint is on the canvas. If it's only a little bit of paint, then obviously it's going to effectively dry out a little bit quicker than if there was a stack of paint on there. So if you're putting it on with a 2-inch brush, then obviously it's going to take a little bit longer. But if you're doing this sort of work, I would expect this to go quite sticky, maybe 10-15 minutes max. Now, What's so important about it going sticky, I hear you say? Well, if we're putting some darks in now, very swiftly, I will be able to, within 10-15 minutes, go and complicate this area out even more. I'll be able to put some lighter bits in and it will stick to the sticky paint which is already on there. It won't, so what I'm looking for, blend in the same way. So if you follow the image as in the photograph and you follow what I'm doing, the painting, you'll be hopefully, well, that's the plan here anyway, is you'll be able to see what it is that I'm doing and how I'm working this to sharpen the image up a little bit, to bring it into focus, and plus give it form. Now, I probably drive my students up the wall with this phrase, but it's okay. It's good for them. And that is the phrase, only paint the truth. Paint, in other words, what you see. Don't paint what you imagine. Boy, you know, I mean, I wouldn't need the old phrase, you know, I'd be a millionaire if students listen to that phrase, but it's true. If you paint what you think is there, you're going to get it wrong. So try to focus on painting the truth of what is there, and you'll find it's a lot easier. So I'm just going to put the bare shape in of this. Now, once again, you know, if you make a mistake, don't worry too much, because what's going to happen? Say this is a mistake. It's wrong place. Let's say it's going to go sticky in about another 5 or 10 minutes, which means I can put fresh paint on it and it won't blend together, which means I can correct it. There is no unhappy accidents in oil painting. It is what it is, and it's what you make it. So it's quite exciting, really, this stage. This is, for me, this is the painting process itself really coming into view and shape. So I'm just looking through the screen. I'm so close to this image. I mean, to give you an idea, this is the length of the brush. Covers the entire painting. So I'm very close. Right, here we go. Now that's some of I'm just focusing on putting some of the darks in. It's going to be the forest it is. I'm a bit blasé, you could say, with things like forests, landscapes, because I have seen so many landscapes and painted them where trees, hills, mountains, clouds especially, are never in the right place. They're never in the place you want them to be. Somehow Mother Nature, Father Sky, as I say, has put the clouds in the wrong spot. So if Father Sky and Mother Earth haven't exactly put things where you want them to go, move them. So it's no big deal. The main thing here is that it looks convincing as a forest stroke landscape, or whatever it is that you're painting, and you obviously don't make it look like a seascape, because that would not be a good idea. So again, putting in some of these darks, and look how this is beginning to focus in. It's quite staggering when you start putting the darks in. It's it really begins to take shape. Now, I'm going to put this across. This is certainly, what's that word called again? Detail. But it's there. Now, there's a bit of dark coming in across here. And this tree comes down there. There's something going in there. Right. I'm going to go to a slightly lighter green. Not too light. I'm going to dip in the Venetian Turps again. Put a bit on the side. So, just to remind you why we're using Venetian Turps. That's a little bit dark for my liking, so we're just going to lighten that up. Bring a bit over here. Two colours mixed in together. There we go. Yeah, that's a little bit better. It is a dark area here, so I don't want to go too light with it. But nonetheless, I don't want to go too dark either. Going over some of the light, some of the darks. It's fine. We can do that. Now, what's this like? Yeah, that's a good colour. And I want to soften this edge up a little. Now, that needs to go a little darker. Not a lot. So I think another tree behind it. So again, let's complicate that out a bit. And some of this is just me rolling the brush, bringing this down slightly. So just messing that area up a bit. So dark in there. Let's build that out a little bit more. Here we go. I don't go too far over to the left, but this area is related. It's connected, so it's not so bad. Main thing is keeping an eye on what the truth is. Here you go, there's that, truth lie thing again. Fundamentally, you don't want to be putting in something which actually isn't there. Unless, of course, you really, really want to, for whatever reason. You're going to try to steer your eyes into seeing the truth. I'm going to go a little bit lighter. Now, why aren't I using a different brush? Fundamentally, it's because I'm lazy. Darks. Maybe there's 2 or 3 different, or 3 or 4 different dark colours which you can use one brush in if you really needed to. But obviously, the truth here, he says with a smile on his face, is you need one colour, one brush. But notoriously, I do tend to sometimes bend rules. Which, of course, is perfectly okay if I do that. Grim. All right. That's said. I'll be good from now on. The thing is, look, you need to be relaxed when you're painting. Don't get too worried with things. I'm going a little bit darker here, but notice there is some light areas in there, but we'll complicate those out in a second. I've yet to go to what I would say leads, individuals, singularities, that sort of stuff. Don't need to do that. Right now I just need to take a dark or light area and complicate it up. Can you see that? It's beginning to work. So a bit more light. Not terribly light, but a number is light. Now, putting in some medium stroke dark greens in here. Tickling that in. We're slowly focusing the image. That's all we're really doing. We are slowly focusing the image. It's not, tree's a little bit green and mossy, I think. We don't need to go too detailed all in one go. Do it in stages. I don't want a hard edge because it's a round bark, and therefore it's not razor sharp edges. Gotta go darker. Let's see what this colour does. Yeah. I'm going to get a little bit of black onto that. Mix it in with the green, just a touch. Bring that across. So these are details of the tree, or trees, who knows. Softening some of those edges. This is already a little sticky, which is nice because it's now going to work in our favour. Because we got more control of it. Comes across. Let's get to the point and try to understand what I'm saying here, because with this one, because it's not the sort of thing I hear many tutors say. It's a bit like what I'm trying to do is to mess it up a little. Now, it doesn't mean to say I want to mess it up a little. It means I'm going to take this image and mess it a bit, put a bit of mess in there. Don't make it sharp. If I see a sharp line, oh, shudder, you know, let's not go there. So I want to kind of make it, and this, there's some light in here. I don't want that. I want it to be a darkened part of the forest, so I am changing it. Good. But it's kind of making something which isn't there look like it is there. Now that's just contradicted the only stick it where you see it, don't stick it where it don't go, only paint the truth, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but it's my forest. So everything I say appears to be a counter statement, but that's art. It's as long as it looks like a forest, acts like a forest, well, it'll be a forest. This is just trying to keep a steady hand, not possible. I'm still struggling with banged head thing, so my hands are a bit shaky as a result of it. It'd be great at blending. Right, phew, oh, that is dark. Gosh, okay. Well, let's put a bit of dark in where we got it. I've got dark on the brush, so I'll just stick it in somewhere. Round here, we want this to be dark, but we don't want it to be a mass. Comes back to that mess again. Right, let's bring this across. I'm just, here I am actually making a mess because I'm messing it up. I am deliberately making something, putting things in here which actually don't exist because they're not there. I don't know where they are, but they're certainly not here. But I'm putting them in a manner which makes it look like they could be there. Does that make sense? It's like, well, you know, could be there. Let's just take that light-ish green. I've got a spare brush in my other hand and I'm not using it at all. Oh well, never mind. Is this too dark? Yeah, I think it is just a tad too dark, so I'm going to lighten that up a bit. There we go. Now, first of all, I need to make this wet, because if it is wet, then I'm painting wet onto wet, which means the edges are in my control. If it's dry, I don't have control of the edges. In other words, yes, I can make a sharp edge, but how do you make a soft edge if it's completely dry? I need to make it wet first, then I have control of the edges. I can make a soft edge or a hard edge. Right, getting there with this now. So yeah, I'm going to keep going with this and on the dark side. Here we go. Sorry about my noisy easel, you can hear rattling in the background. Something's not done up as tight as it should be. Not quite sure what that is, but never mind. Yeah, now can you see, if we don't look over here, we just look over there, can you see how this is beginning to become in focus? Let's switch to the other brush. Oh, shudder. And here I'm going to take some of the yellow. Now this is cadmium lemon, and I'm going to mix a cadmium lemon with a wee bit of green just here, making it slightly green-esque. That's enough. Bit of solvent or Venetian terps, similar difference. And here we go. Right, so here I'm going to put a few flicks in. Now you'll notice instantly this touches and stays there. It's like if this was ordinary oil paint without Venetian terps, I wouldn't be able to do this. The two colours aren't actually mixing together. They would if I wanted them to. But they're not. And you can see I only just painted this quite dark, so bring that out a bit. Now I can go back in with this with a bit of dark to actually trim it up a bit, which is nice. When you're painting, or I should say when I'm painting, not when I'm teaching, but when I'm painting, nothing enters my head. Nothing much enters my head even when I'm teaching, but it's like painting insulates you from everything outside, and you're totally focused in what you're doing. But when you're teaching, obviously that isn't necessarily what's happening. So I don't quite get the effects maybe that I would hope to have when I'm teaching. So I'm focusing on talking to you guys. you're to blame. All right, but it's okay, because I'm going to demonstrate to you in a minute exactly what I mean by what you can do with this. Here we go. One of these. Whoops. That was a big shape. No worries. Okay. I want to just create a bit of extreme light on some of this, so I'm going to put a few tickles just in here. Good. The other thing is in here. Don't make it too tidy. In other words, the picket line fence, you know? Dollop, dollop, dollop. No, don't do that. We need to make it messy. In actual fact, we need to make it much messier than it is just there. So anyway, we'll do that in a second. Right, I'm going to just now put that brush down. I'm going to go to a slightly smaller brush, and this is a dagger brush. You see what I mean? Shaky hand and all. And I'm going to put this into the dark. A little bit of Venetian Terps. Bit of dark, whatever that is. I think it's dark brown. That's black. The black is ivory black. It's the only black I really use. It's a blue black. All right. Now, is this going to be too much? Probably not. So, putting the things in which I see in this area. And again, do remember what I say, you don't have to make it pixel perfect, but it does need to be believable. Goes around. And this is one of those occasions where, even though the paint is wet, like it was a minute ago, it still is now, it's getting sticky. Now I could have left this another 10 minutes to make it really sticky, but I always like a challenge. Yeah, we need to tweak this again in a second. But the beauty of oil paint is that it's never done until you say it is. You can go over and over and over. Now, if I was after perfection, I would have allocated, obviously, 3 or 4 hours. But we've only got a small amount of time, so we'll progress in with this maybe later. I might actually spend a bit more time on it, but I'm okay with it so far. I think it's going to be okay. It looks the part. And just put a few dabs in where I see. Let's just load the brush up. So hopefully you can see what I mean by the Venetian Terps is helping me paint. Because if with oil, you can make it too wet. It's like everything, like all mediums, watercolor, oil, acrylic, don't know what it is, you can make it too wet, and that's not a happy thing to do. I want to make this a little bit messy-esque around here. That's definitely a Martinez word, messy-esque. Need to come up with a dictionary. Right, bit of dark. And we'll go into the second tree, which is there. Let's just make this, pack a bit of dark up, put it on the brush. There's a dark area there. Bring that along. There is some other greens in there which I could do. Could do with a medium, or I just darken the lighter green up with a bit of dark brush. See how it goes. Sometimes it's enough, and I don't want to make it too. See, here's what I don't want to do. I don't want to make it too detailed. I don't spend too much time on this. I want it to be a hint of a tree. I don't want to need to sign my name to the tree itself. It doesn't need to be that perfect. It needs to be hint of it. I think that works. It kind of works-ish. So a quick look. Don't need to maybe tickle a little bit in that one or two areas. So I'm playing with this a little bit, mainly to show you what can be done with just this little technique. And the Venetian Terps is helping me do this. It's that which is giving me the ability to play with these this tree and bring in the dark area, bring in the light area, and literally sculpture it in many aspects without the paint mixing. Now, okay, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's okay. Let's look at this bush to the right of that. And let's just again, I'm leaning right over because I don't want to obscure the painting with my arm. Just bringing those darks in. This is always a nice brush. Look at it. It always reshapes itself. If you're not familiar with Rosemary & Co brushes, I really would invite you to just get a few, as I say. On the community, there's a page which gives you the recommended brushes that I use. And I think everything I use is actually on that page. It's not a vast range of brushes, but good choice, and they last. I mean, they're handmade brushes, and they're worth. I don't find them expensive at all, and I really, to be honest with you, I love them to death. So I don't have any other brushes, and I don't think all my brushes are Rosemary & Co. I believe, unless they are very, very old, which is unlikely. Right. Now I'm going to just put a little bit of shadow into this area. I'm going to touch the Venetian Terps onto that. I'm going to complicate this area out a bit. Oh, it's a bit dark. Okay, so yeah, I don't want to lighten that brush too much, so I'm just going to grab another brush and again just mix a slightly different variable or variation in colour. Put a bit of brown in. There's brown. The brown I'm using is raw umber. So look at this, see what's too dark or not. No, I think that's okay. So I'm just want to fuzz up, yeah, make the edges a bit fuzzy in that area. And I'm going to put a bit of dark in here, underneath there. Oh, that's a bit too much, but never mind. Again, because it's Venetian Terps, it helps me to complicate these light and dark areas without the paint mixing in too much. Notice I've lifted that up, and I'm going to put a bit of dark in there. Just a tad more. Can you see how that looks like it's going into the forest? Any edge. edge. Take that away. Yeah, that looks good. Bit of lemon. Tiny. Oh, that's a lot. Tiny. Okay, put that to the side. Bit of lemon. Bring that across. And soften that edge. Okay. Yeah, that works. There's a bit of a halo. Oops. Yeah, that's a bit better, but I just touched the just touched that dark, messed it up. So let's just retouch that in. Yeah, that's good to go. Right, see how that just complicated that area in. It makes it look so much nicer. Now look, this is done about, what, 10 minutes ago? Now I can just get this yellow and tickle in some of the highlight maybe in that area. Around here is a bit of highlight. There is a bit of highlight there anyway, but I don't want the blue sky coming in, but we'll put a bit of highlight in. There we go. Now, I've got it on the brush and I'll use it. I'm going to put some lighter variance around here. It is a bit too light, but I just want to put something in there to soften the edges. That's it. Again, helps me to break up the big shapes and gives me a chance to put some soft edges in there if I need to. Where if it's totally dry, I don't have a choice. Everything I paint is going to have a hard edge. I think just a tad bit more light before we pack this brush away. And yes, the Venetian Terps, making it sticky in this area so I can play with it. Good. No, I really messed that light brush up there, so never mind. Let's retire that, put it in the corner. Now let's get the dark green brush, and I want to just soften in some of these areas. Again, I don't want to paint a leaf, but I do want to paint the shapes that these leaves could make if they're in there. So I'm thinking tree as I do this. I do smile at some of the things I say, so, but it's kind of become aware of what a tree could look like, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. I don't think a tree, but oh hello, it's a big rattle. Mental note to self, must tighten that up. Notice these brush marks. Kisses, can you see that? Slow it down for you. And all in different directions. Right. Now, I think, let's just put that down a second. And let's focus on this dark brush. So we are here. I'm going to put a bit of, it's all wet. So when I put black on, I'm not putting black on, I'm putting a dark brush on with some black in it, but as it touches, it's going to take on the color of this area, which is already wet. So it's not going to be black, it's going to be black-esque. Dark, yes, but not black. Just running down here, this has got a bit of light green on it, and you can see how this is kind of a dark brush. It does stand out, but it enables me now to put in some dark marks. Guess what those are? Detail. So, just gently tick all those in. Right. Yep. So now we're just getting in here. This is quite a dark area, and it's got quite a bit of dark coming into the this area as well. So just making the brush roll. In the years of old, I used to call this the drunken monkey technique, much to the amusement of everyone. But at the end of the day, it's a bit like, well, just let the brush roll around the place. Again, mess it up a little bit. Put a bit of mess in there. I don't mean, obviously, don't mean mess the painting up, but I just mean put some mess in the painting. Don't make it so neat. Let's bring a tree trunk down. Maybe another one, two. Do remember, trees don't always go straight up. They, some of them are even lying down on the ground. So, no need to do them perfectly vertical. Everything we've done here, you can always still develop it. You see, that really is beginning to, I've just seen through the painting at the screen, and it's moved on a bit. Look up here. It's quite dark area. So again, I'm just rolling this dark brush around the place. Look at that. And then just that kissing technique, or X's, or whatever you want to call it, like you just put some crosses on a card or something. Well, that's the stroke which we want. Underneath the light is a bit dark, put that in. Now, begins to take shape. And I'm mindful I'm going into this area. I didn't want to go too far over to the left, but I am moving across there, so be mindful of what I'm doing. Right, now I'm just going to change brushes again to this slightly lighter green. And this area, by the way, is very sticky currently, which is just what I want. All the fresh paint or new paint going on is sticking to the paint that's underneath it, allowing me to complicate without the colours mixing too much together. So I've got control. coming in. Now, I think, see how we are, but I think that's quite a lot covered for this class. I mean, so yeah, we can paint a little bit longer, but I don't want to go too much past the hour, because I kind of want to have the situation where we're painting for an hour, and that's enough. Gives you enough to focus on without, getting too much. At the end of the day, this will be done in stages. Next time we're back, maybe I'll develop this area a bit more. If we can, we'll do this and all, and then it's messing up the foreground, and then bingo, we got the painting finished. It's just, where's that go now? Having seen a close-up, it's kind of almost textured in here. So let's see about, say for example, we didn't want that texture. This is another Rosemary & Co brush. Here we go. It's a soft golden synthetic. Series number is 312, and this is a 1/4 inch. Very light stroke. I'm just going to let the brush glide over. I'm not going to really do too much to this. Now this is a panel. It's a wooden panel, so we don't have the benefits of having canvas on here. If it was canvas board, it'd be slightly different. The canvas gives us a texture in itself, but being a wooden panel, we got real sort of paint showing, which is nice. Don't be shy of that, but I just want at this stage, I didn't want to go too raised with it. I didn't want to make it too, what's the word I'm looking for, textured. One of these days I'll get my words back, hopefully. Everything in time. I think it's 6 weeks since the fractured skull accident, so we're still a bit new. Head's still a bit confused, especially if the knowledge of where up is. That's the biggest confusion. Still trying to work on that to make sure it doesn't happen again. Just softening some of this up a little bit, not too much. I don't want it to be in too sharp a focus, because it's distance, it's pushed back. This is near, that's different. But I don't want too great a detail in here. Kind of want it a bit soft edged-ish. Not too soft edged, but a little bit. When you get into the painting process, these things will make, you'll notice them, and there'll be a difference to the way you paint. I'm just softening those up a little bit. I don't want to be too dominant. And we haven't done much in here, but I just want to take away a little bit of the edge work. That's it. Okay, and just take away any of the hard edges which I see. I'm kind of preparing it for the next stage. And everything has think of it as a painting process. So don't worry too much, for example, about, it's a bit like you're decorating, don't start painting until you've rubbed all the woodwork down. So we're still, in many aspects, we're not rubbing woodwork down, but we are beginning the painting process. Don't worry too much. Keep the process in your mind and don't go too advanced, don't go too far down. Another way of looking at this is don't ice the cake until it's cooked. and I bake. So it's not, that's a true comment. Right. I think. Going to take a little look from afar backwards a second. Hang on. I'll be back in camera in a second. Yeah. I see that as coming on a bit. So I'm going to leave it there, I think, for today. We've taken it a stage further, especially to the right side where the dark areas are. We've got these tree shapes in place, and we can develop those a little bit more next time. We've got the dark tree in, we've got the shadow and the highlighting with a bit of moss bit here, which that's okay. And we've softened these edges up and we've complicated it around here. We've even got the distant trees in, or a hint of trees. So we've got a good stage or good step in the right direction. That's enough for today. Thank you for joining me. I am going to be doing more of these 1 hour classes live, and they're going to be appearing onto the community very soon. My aim, when I get my head mended, is to maybe in another month's time, is to possibly do 3 or even 5 of these a week. So there's a lot of interaction going on between, it's a bit like a classroom, but live. That's kind of where I'm going with this, but not yet until my brain heals, which hopefully won't be too long. Give it to April. I should be feeling much better by then. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed this. And I shall look forward to seeing you in the next live stream. All the very best. Have a good week. Bye for now.